My name is James, and I'm 60 years old. Looking at me now, you'd probably never guess the amount of stress I carried for most of my life. These days, I'm calm, content, and more at peace than I ever thought possible. But it wasn't always like this. For decades, stress ran my life. It dictated my choices, robbed me of sleep, and even started to take a toll on my health. What you're seeing now is the result of years of hard work, reflection, and a determination to change. Let me take you back to my 40s. Back then, I was the guy who thought stress was just a part of life. I owned a small business, which meant I was on call 24/7. Every decision, every hiccup, and every problem landed squarely on my shoulders. I was also raising 2 teenagers with my wife, Susan, and trying to support my aging parents. My days started at 6 a.m. and often didn't end until midnight. Weekends, forget about it. They were just an extension of the work week. At first, I told myself it was normal. This is what it means to be a provider, I thought. This is what success looks like. But over time, the cracks started to show. I was irritable and short-tempered with everyone around me, including Susan and the kids. My sleep was terrible. Most nights, I'd lie awake for hours, replaying the events of the day or worrying about tomorrow. Physically, I felt like I was falling apart. I had constant headaches, my blood pressure was sky high, and I was tired all the time. The breaking point came during a regular Tuesday afternoon meeting. I was presenting to a client when, out of nowhere, my chest tightened and I felt like I couldn't breathe. My heart was pounding so hard I thought it might burst. I excused myself, stepped into the hallway, and leaned against the wall, trying to catch my breath. My assistant found me a few minutes later, pale and shaking, and insisted on taking me to the ER. The doctor ran some tests and told me it wasn't a heart attack, thank God, but a panic attack. I didn't even know what a panic attack was. He sat me down and said, "James, you're a textbook case of chronic stress. If you don't make changes now, you're heading straight for a real heart attack, or worse." That night, as I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, I had a moment of reckoning. I thought about Susan and the kids and how much they depended on me. I thought about all the things I wanted to do with my life, the places I wanted to visit, the experiences I wanted to share with my family. And then, I thought about how little of that would matter if I wasn't around to enjoy it. That was my wake-up call. I knew I had to make changes, but I also knew it wasn't going to be easy. The first thing I did was learn to say no. For years, I'd been a yes man. I said yes to every project, every favor, every obligation, no matter how overwhelmed I already felt. I thought it made me reliable and hardworking, but all it really did was stretch me too thin. So I started setting boundaries. At work, I began delegating tasks to my team and trusting them to handle things without me micromanaging. At home, I asked Susan and the kids to pitch in more with chores and errands. It wasn't easy at first. I felt guilty, like I was letting people down. But over time, I realized that saying no to others often meant saying yes to myself and to the things that really mattered. One of those things was my health. I hadn't exercised in years and my body was paying the price. A friend recommended I start walking and I decided to give it a try. Every evening after dinner, I'd head to the park and walk for 30 minutes. At first, it felt strange. I wasn't used to slowing down, and my mind kept racing with worries and to-do lists. But the more I walked, the more I began to notice the world around me, the sound of birds chirping, the way the leaves rustled in the breeze, the colors of the sunset. Those walks became my sanctuary, a time to clear my head and reconnect with myself. I also started meditating. This was a tough one for me because I'd always been skeptical of things like mindfulness and meditation, but after reading about the benefits, I decided to give it a shot. I downloaded a meditation app and started with just 5 minutes a day. I'd sit in a quiet room, close my eyes and focus on my breath. At first, it was hard. My mind would wander and I'd get frustrated, but I stuck with it and over time, it became easier. Now, meditation is a daily habit and I can't imagine my life without it. Sleep was another big challenge. For years, I'd been running on 4 or 5 hours a night, thinking I could catch up on rest later. But the truth is, you can't function properly without good sleep. I started making sleep a priority, creating a bedtime routine that helped me wind down. I'd dim the lights, put away my phone, and spend 30 minutes reading or listening to calming music before bed. I also started drinking chamomile tea and using a weighted blanket, which helped me feel more relaxed and grounded. Journaling became another important tool. I'd never been much of a writer, but I found that putting my thoughts on paper helped me process them. Every morning, I'd spend 10 minutes writing about whatever was on my mind, worries, goals, gratitude, anything. It was like a mental dump, clearing out the clutter in my head so I could focus on the day ahead. Perhaps the biggest lesson I learned was the importance of gratitude. Stress has a way of making you focus on everything that's wrong, but gratitude helps you see what's right. Every night before bed, I'd think of 3 things I was grateful for. Some days, it was big things, like my family or a successful day at work. Other days, it was small, like a good cup of coffee or a beautiful sunset. Over time, this practice shifted my perspective and made me more resilient in the face of challenges. Now, at 60, I feel like a completely different person. I still have responsibilities, and life still throws curveballs, but I don't let stress consume me anymore. I've learned to manage it, to face it head-on without letting it control my life. My health is better, my relationships are stronger, and I actually enjoy my days instead of just surviving them. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that stress doesn't have to define you. With the right tools and mindset, you can take back control of your life, no matter how overwhelming things might seem. It's not about eliminating stress entirely. That's impossible. It's about learning to navigate it, to find moments of peace and joy in the midst of chaos. And trust me, if I can do it, so can you.